Do you ever feel tired of forcing yourself to be happy? You wake up, and there's an invisible weight on your chest. You know you should feel grateful, you know you should be optimistic. So, you begin the silent internal battle. You try to force positive thoughts into your mind, repeating mantras you've read somewhere. Today is going to be a great day. I am strong. I can do this. But your emotions don't obey. The weight is still there. The anxiety still hums in the background. And then a feeling even worse than the initial sadness appears, guilt. You start blaming yourself. Why can't I just be happy? Why does this advice work for everyone else but not for me? And just like that, you fall into a toxic loop. You feel bad, you try to convince yourself not to feel bad, it doesn't work, and then you feel worse for failing to feel better. It's like trying to command a storm to stop. You can scream at the wind for as long as you want, but the storm has its own rules. And in the end, the only one who ends up exhausted and powerless is you. The hard truth, a truth the self-help world often ignores, is this: happiness is not an emotional state to be pursued. It is a byproduct. Chasing it directly, trying to grasp it and hold on tight, is the surest way to make it evade you forever. For the next 40 minutes, we are not going to talk about chasing happiness anymore. We are going to talk about building the machine that generates it. An internal system that works quietly in the background, demanding no force or hollow affirmations. And that system begins by reversing a core belief we've all been taught. The flawed belief, deeply rooted in our culture, is this: motivation leads to action, and action leads to results. We believe we have to wait for a wave of inspiration to hit, a magical shift in our mood, and only then can we begin. But if you've lived long enough, you know that waiting is like waiting for rain in the middle of a desert. The truth, a truth proven by science and quietly applied by the most successful people, is the complete opposite: action creates motivation. And that motivation, in turn, creates results. Think of a very real example. A man, let's call him Frank, wants to get in better shape. Frank is over 40, has a stressful job, and he feels tired. Every Sunday, he tells himself, "This week, I'm going to start." But every Monday morning, he wakes up and feels zero inspiration to go to the gym. The bed is too warm, and the thought of working out seems overwhelming. So, he tells himself, "Tomorrow." Weeks, then months, go by in that state of tomorrow. Frank isn't lazy, he's just waiting for a feeling that never comes. Then one day, after hearing a piece of advice, he decides to try something different. He doesn't set a goal of going to the gym. His only goal is this: put on his running shoes and walk to the end of the street and back. That's it. It seems silly, too small. But he does it. When he gets back, something strange happens. He feels a little better. Not euphoric, but a small sense of accomplishment. The next day, putting on the shoes and walking feels a little easier. After a week, he's walking further. That tiny, almost meaningless action started an engine. It created motivation. This isn't just a nice story. It's clinical psychology in practice. It has a name: behavioral activation. It is one of the most effective, evidence-based treatments for depression. Why? Because it doesn't try to fix your thoughts or feelings directly. It breaks the deadly cycle of inaction. It understands that a body in motion changes a mind at rest. And here's why it works on a biochemical level. Every time you complete an action, no matter how small, answering one email, washing one dish, walking for 5 minutes, your brain releases a small amount of dopamine. Dopamine is often misunderstood as the pleasure chemical. More accurately, it's the chemical of pursuit and reinforcement. It tells your brain, "Hey, that was good. Let's do that again." By taking small actions, you are literally hacking your own reward system, creating a positive feedback loop. Action creates a little dopamine, and that dopamine fuels the next action. This principle holds true in work and creativity. Imagine a writer facing a blank page. The feeling of writer's block isn't a lack of ideas, it's the paralysis from the pressure to create something perfect. They wait for the muse to arrive, but the muse is a fickle guest. The solution isn't to wait. The solution is to act. The professional writer will make a commitment: I will write just 100 words. They can be the worst words I've ever written, but I will write them. And what happens? Those 100 words spark an idea. They become 200, then 500. The flow is unlocked by the physical act of typing, not by divine inspiration. So how do we apply this? We start with the 2-minute rule, a concept popularized by James Clear. The principle is simple: if a new task you want to start takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. Want to read more? Don't set a goal to read a chapter, read 1 page. Want to meditate? Don't aim for 20 minutes, meditate for 1 minute. The point of the rule isn't about the action itself. It's about reinforcing a new identity, the identity of someone who starts. This reversal principle is the foundation. It's the shift from being a passive passenger in your life to being the driver. And once you start moving, once your vehicle is in motion, you need something just as important: a compass to guide you. A viewer on one of our previous videos left a profound comment, one that encapsulated an entire life philosophy in a few words. He wrote, "You don't need a perfect life. You need a different lens." If the reversal principle is the engine that starts the machine, this lens is your compass. It's the tool that determines the direction of all the energy you've just created. You see, your feelings are not random guests that show up unannounced. They are the direct, predictable result of where you place your focus. And this isn't an abstract philosophical idea, it's a hardwired reality of your nervous system. Your brain has a mechanism called the reticular activating system, or RAS. Think of it as the gatekeeper to your consciousness. Every second, you are bombarded by millions of bits of data: what you see, hear, feel. If your brain had to consciously process all of it, you would instantly be overwhelmed. So, the RAS acts as a filter, only allowing the most important information to pass through. And who decides what's important? You do. With your focus. If you wake up and tell your gatekeeper, "Today, look for evidence that the world is unfair," that gatekeeper will do exactly that. It will swing the gates wide open for the car that cuts you off, the snide comment from a coworker, the negative news on social media. It will filter all of that in and present it to you as irrefutable proof that, "See? You were right. The world sucks." But what if you give it a different directive? What if you say, "Today, look for opportunity"? That gatekeeper will begin an entirely new search. It will notice the smile from the barista, the quiet moment before everyone else wakes up, the email from a satisfied client. It will point out doors that you were completely blind to yesterday. The external world hasn't changed, but your experience of it has changed completely. Your brain has another tendency called confirmation bias. Basically, your brain is lazy. It likes to take shortcuts, and it loves to prove that what it already believes is true. This can be a deadly trap or an incredibly powerful tool. The choice is yours. If you believe you are incompetent, your brain will seek out and magnify every tiny mistake to confirm that belief. But if you choose to believe you are a learner, it will begin to see every challenge as a lesson. Let's see how this plays out in a normal day. Scenario A: John wakes up with the lens, "Life is hard." He gets stuck in traffic and thinks, "Here we go again, the universe is against me." He gets to the office and a colleague walks by without saying hello. "See, no one respects me." His boss gives him a difficult project. "Great, another way for them to make me fail." By the end of the day, John is completely exhausted and bitter, convinced he had a terrible day. Now let's run scenario B, with the same John and the same sequence of events, but with a deliberate lens. He gets stuck in traffic and thinks, "Oh, good, I have an extra 15 minutes to finish my audiobook." He gets to the office and the colleague walks by without saying hello. He thinks, she looks stressed. Maybe she's having a tough day. His boss gives him the difficult project. He thinks, this is a chance for me to prove my skills and learn something new. At the end of the day, John feels a little tired, but also accomplished and purposeful. The external events were identical. But his internal world was night and day. So how do we train this lens? We use a technique I call, capture, question, and replace, 2.0. First is capture. This isn't just noticing the negative thought. It's feeling it in your body. When the thought, I'm going to mess this up, appears, what happens physically? Do your shoulders tighten? Does your jaw clench? Do you get a knot in your stomach? Those physical sensations are your early warning system. They are the signal to pause. Next is question. This is where you become an investigative journalist for your own mind. Ask deep questions. Where did this thought come from? Is it based on objective fact or a familiar fear? Is there another way to see this situation? And the most important question, does this thought serve the version of myself I want to become? Finally, replace. And here's the key, you don't replace it with fake, toxic positivity. You don't replace, I'm going to mess this up, with, I'm the best in the world. Your brain won't buy it. Instead, you replace it with a balanced, useful truth. You replace, I'm going to mess this up, with something like, this is really challenging, and I am capable of handling difficult things. I'll take it one step at a time. Or, I've faced challenges before and found my way through. I'll find my way through this, too. This isn't lying to yourself. This is being a better coach to yourself. A good coach doesn't tell the athlete the game will be easy. They acknowledge the challenge and then remind the athlete of their strength, their training, and their resilience. Wielding this lens is a skill. And like any skill, it requires practice. The best way to practice it is through small, structured actions repeated daily, until they become second nature. There's a quote by the author James Clear that has changed how millions of people view personal growth. It goes, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Read that again. Goals, lose weight, write a book, be more patient, are good for setting a direction. But they are distant destinations. Your systems, on the other hand, are the road you walk every day. And it's the road, not the destination, that determines how far you'll go. Lasting happiness and peace are not built in huge, inspired leaps. They are built by tiny, almost invisible actions, repeated with such consistency that they become part of who you are. We call them habits. And the science behind habit formation is fascinating. Every habit, good or bad, follows a simple three-step loop in our brain: cue, routine, and reward. The cue is the trigger that tells your brain to go into automatic mode. For example, the ding of your phone is a cue. The routine is the action you take. You pick up your phone and scroll social media. The reward is the sense of satisfaction your brain gets, even if it's just a tiny hit of distraction, which reinforces the loop for next time. Most of us try to change the routine, I'm going to stop scrolling, without understanding the cue that triggers it or designing an alternative reward. That's why we so often fail. But there's another, even more powerful scientific aspect: neuroplasticity. Imagine your brain is a dense, grassy field. The first time you perform a new action, like meditating for 1 minute, it's like forcing a path through the tall grass. It's difficult and requires conscious effort. But if you walk that same path again tomorrow, it's a little easier. If you do it every day for a month, a clear trail will form. Eventually, that trail becomes so worn that you follow it without thinking. You have physically thickened a neural pathway. You have built a habit. So, instead of letting habits form by accident, we are going to become deliberate architects of our day. We are going to build a simple architecture of habits, a scaffolding that supports our mental well-being. Let's start with the morning anchor. The first 5 minutes of your day are the most important, because they set the trajectory for everything that follows. Most people start their day by giving their power away. They grab their phone and are immediately bombarded by emails, news, and other people's demands. They start the day in a state of reaction. We will do it differently. Create a non-negotiable, 5-minute ritual. It could look like this: 1 minute of deep breathing, focusing only on the air coming in and out. 1 minute of light stretching. 1 minute of drinking a full glass of water. And the final 2 minutes, writing down the single most important priority for the day. Just one. By doing this, you start the day with intention. You are telling your brain, I am in control. Next is the midday reset. The post-lunch period is when energy typically dips. Instead of reaching for a third cup of coffee or mindlessly scrolling social media, perform a deliberate reset. Go for a 5-minute walk outside. This is incredibly effective for several reasons. First, movement pumps blood and oxygen to the brain. Second, exposure to daylight, even on a cloudy day, helps regulate your circadian rhythm, improving both daytime energy and nighttime sleep. And third, physically changing your scenery helps your brain get out of thought ruts and often brings new solutions to problems you're stuck on. Finally, the evening wind down. In a world that worships busyness, we have forgotten the importance of doing nothing. Your brain needs a transition period to shift from work mode to recovery mode. Scrolling your phone in bed is not rest, it's another form of stimulation, a dose of mental junk food right before sleep. Instead, create a 30-minute screen-free buffer before you want to fall asleep. Read a physical book. Listen to instrumental music. Talk with your partner. It signals to your brain and body that the day is done, it's time to let go. The morning anchor, the midday reset, and the evening wind down. These 3 simple habits create an architecture. And here's the beauty of it: there will be days you don't want to do them. There will be days you wake up and feel that weight, and the thought of doing your ritual seems ridiculous. That is when the system takes over. You don't have to negotiate with your feelings. You don't have to find motivation. You just follow the blueprint. Because you made the decision once, when you designed the system, you don't have to make it again every single day. Once you have action and a system to sustain it, it's time to confront the deepest layer, the very core of the human experience, the story you tell yourself. One of the most powerful and moving comments we ever received was from a viewer who described the impact of an idea as the feeling of taking off a heavy backpack he had been carrying for years. That backpack. We all know it. It's woven from disappointments, injustices, hurtful words, and lost opportunities. And that backpack has a name. Its name is victim. Now, let's be crystal clear about something incredibly important. Pain is real. Injustice is real. Betrayal is real. No one can deny those things. But victimhood is something else. It is not the event that happened to you. It is the story you tell yourself after the event is over. It is a cognitive filter through which you see the entire world, a filter that says, my past determines my future. I am powerless over my circumstances. And here's the hard-to-swallow truth: the victim mentality provides a hidden benefit. It offers safety. If you are the victim, you don't have to take responsibility. You don't have to make hard choices. You can blame the world, other people, fate. But the price you pay for that safety is your power, your agency, your ability to create a future that is different from your past. Over 2,000 years ago, there was a man named Epictetus. He had every reason in the world to be a victim. He was born a slave in Rome. His master tortured him and broke his leg, leaving him permanently disabled. He had no freedom, no property, no power. And yet, it was this man who wrote one of the most powerful sentences in Western philosophy: it is not things that upset us, but our judgment of things. Think about that. Epictetus mastered an art that most of us struggle a lifetime to learn: the art of separating an external event from an internal judgment. The external event was, I am a slave. My leg is broken. That was an unchangeable fact. The internal judgment could have been, my life is over. I am worthless. But Epictetus rejected that judgment. He chose a different one, my body may be in chains, but my mind is free. And that is where I truly live. How do we escape the victim story and start writing a new one about empowerment? We use two incredibly effective reframing tools. The first tool is gratitude, not as a feeling, but as a weapon. We're not talking about passive gratitude, the be thankful for what you have variety. We're talking about an active practice, a deliberate hunt for the good, especially on the hardest days. This isn't about ignoring the darkness. This is about lighting a candle. Researchers at the University of California, Berkeley found that people who regularly practice gratitude not only report feeling happier, but they also have lower levels of inflammatory markers in their blood. This means gratitude has a physical impact on your health. Here's a practical exercise you can start tonight. Take a notebook and divide a page into 2 columns. In the first column, write down one difficult thing that happened today. Be honest. I had an argument with my son. My project at work was rejected. In the second column, right next to it, write down one small good thing that existed in spite of the difficult thing. Despite the argument, my son still hugged me before bed. Despite the project being rejected, I still have supportive colleagues. This exercise doesn't erase the pain. It trains your brain to see the balance, to see that even on the worst days, there is still light. The second reframing tool is a simple but profound shift in the question you ask yourself. Shift from, why me, to, what can I learn from this? Why me, is the question of the victim. It has no useful answer. It leads to a dead end of self-pity and bitterness. But, what can I learn from this, is the question of the learner, the creator. It immediately opens the door to growth and agency. You lost your job. Why me, will keep you stuck in anger. What can I learn from this, might lead you to the answer. I learned that my skills were outdated and I need to update them, or, I learned that I never really loved that job and this is an opportunity to find something more meaningful. The same event, but a different question creates 2 entirely different futures. When you combine action, focus, a system of habits, and the art of reframing your story, a staggering truth begins to emerge. Happiness was never something for you to find out in the world. It was always something for you to build from within. This shift needs to be reinforced daily, through small choices, until it's no longer something you do, but who you are. We've laid out a blueprint, a powerful toolkit. But theory and reality are 2 different worlds. There will be days when, despite your best intentions, everything falls apart. You'll wake up late, you'll skip your morning ritual, you'll get sucked into an argument, and you'll find yourself screaming at the storm again. On those days, you might feel like a hypocrite, as if all this effort was for nothing. And here is what I want you to hear loud and clear, that is perfectly normal. The goal is not perfection. Perfection is an illusion that leads only to frustration. The goal is resilience. The difference between people who truly change and those who just try and quit doesn't lie in them never falling down. It lies in how quickly they get back up each time. So, what do you do on those bad days? You practice something that is perhaps even harder than discipline, self-compassion. This concept, pioneered by researcher Kristen Neff, is not self-pity or making excuses. It's treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a dear friend who was struggling. When your best friend fails, you don't say, "You're such a loser." You say, "Hey, it happens to everyone. This is hard. Let's take a break and try again tomorrow." You need to become that friend to yourself. Acknowledge the pain, accept your own imperfection, and give yourself permission to start again tomorrow. After the bad days, you will face another, more subtle enemy, the plateau. These are the long stretches, weeks or even months, when you're doing everything right, you're taking action, you're managing your lens, you're maintaining your habits, but you don't feel like you're making any progress. The initial excitement has faded, and you seem to be stuck. This is where most people quit. They mistake a lack of visible progress for a lack of any progress at all. In those moments, remember the story of the Chinese bamboo tree. After the seed is planted, the farmer must water and nurture it for 5 full years without seeing any sign of life above the ground. Not a single sprout emerges. 5 years of work with no results. But then, in the 5th year, something miraculous happens. The bamboo begins to grow, and in the space of 6 weeks, it shoots up to 90 feet tall. The question is, did it grow in 6 weeks, or in 5 years? The answer is 5 years. Because all that time, underground, it was silently building a complex and powerful root system strong enough to support the explosive growth that was to come. Your growth is just like that. The days you feel like you're treading water are the days you are building your root system. You are strengthening those neural pathways. You are turning conscious behaviors into automatic instincts. Trust the process, even when you can't see the results. The breakthrough often happens right after the point where most people would have given up. Finally, for this transformation to be truly sustainable, you must acknowledge a fundamental truth: you cannot maintain a positive mindset in a negative environment. You are a product of your surroundings. So, you must become the architect not only of your day, but of your life. Consider 3 key areas. First, people. There's a saying that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Look at your circle. Are they lifting you up, challenging you positively, and celebrating your wins? Or are they dragging you down with negativity, complaints, and cynicism? You don't have to sever every relationship, but you do need to be intentional about who gets your precious energy. Second, information. What are you eating mentally every day? If your diet consists of a 24/7 stream of catastrophic news, social media arguments, and useless gossip, don't be surprised when you feel anxious and insecure. Perform an information detox. Unfollow accounts that make you feel worse about yourself. Limit your news intake. Instead, actively seek out books, podcasts, and conversations that nourish your mind. Third, physical space. A cluttered environment often leads to a cluttered mind. You don't need to live in a minimalist home, but the simple act of clearing your workspace or tidying your bedroom sends a powerful signal of order and peace to your brain. Facing hard days with compassion, trusting the process during plateaus, and curating a supportive environment, this is not a to-do list. It is a philosophy of life. It is the daily choice to be the gardener of your inner world, pulling the weeds and nurturing what you want to see grow. We've covered a lot of ground together in the last 40 minutes. We started with the harsh and somewhat uncomfortable truth, that chasing happiness, trying to hunt it down like a prize, is a game you are set up to lose. We uncovered the reversal principle, a foundational shift in perspective that action must come first, and motivation will follow like a loyal companion, not an elusive guide. Then, we began building our toolkit, the toolkit of a creator. We learned to craft tool number 1, the deliberate lens, understanding that our inner world is colored by where we choose to place our focus. We designed tool number 2, the architecture of habits, creating a scaffolding of small, systemic actions to support us, especially on the days we feel weakest. And we went deep with tool number 3, the art of the reframe, learning to shift from being a victim of our past to being a student of it, using gratitude as a weapon against bitterness. Finally, we faced the messy reality of life, acknowledging that there will be bad days, there will be plateaus, and understanding that curating a supportive environment is essential. And as we stand here at the end of this journey, a larger picture begins to emerge. Happiness is not the destination. It never was. Happiness is the vehicle. It's the car you build yourself, piece by piece, to travel the bumpy, unpredictable, and sometimes breathtakingly beautiful journey of life. Some days, that car will cruise smoothly on an open road. Other days, it will sputter and crawl through mud. But the difference is, it's your car. You know how to fix it, you know how to fuel it, and you know which direction to point it. The greatest power you possess is not in your ability to control the external world, an impossible task that will only lead to frustration. Your greatest power lies in your ability to master your internal world. That is the only kingdom where you have total sovereignty. Every morning when you wake up, the universe gives you a gift. That gift is not a perfect day. That gift is a raw lump of clay. Some days, that clay seems dry and hard. Other days, it seems soft and pliable. You have a choice. You can let that clay sit there, to be hardened by indifference and passive reaction to whatever life throws at you. Or, you can put your hands on it. You can shape it, even just a little. You can smooth a rough edge with an act of kindness. You can create a graceful curve with a moment of gratitude. You can carve a small detail into it with a deliberate habit. That choice, a choice made not once, but thousands of times in quiet, daily moments, is where a life worth living is made. It is not created in the grand moments, but in the tiny, almost invisible decisions. It is the art of the creator. So, as we close, I'm not going to ask you a question. I want to invite you to make a commitment. In the comments below, I want you to write down one micro habit, just one, from this video that you will commit to for the next 7 days. Maybe it's the 5-minute morning ritual. Maybe it's the 2-column gratitude exercise. Maybe it's as simple as a 5-minute walk after lunch. By writing it down, you are doing more than just commenting. You are creating a contract with yourself, and you are sharing it with a community of fellow creators who are here with you. And if this 40-minute journey was valuable to you, if it gave you even one tool or one new perspective, please subscribe to keep building with us. And more importantly, share it. Because there is a very good chance that someone out there, in your circle, is tired of forcing themselves to be happy. They might be in the middle of their own storm, screaming at the wind. And this video, shared by your small act, might be the signal, the permission they need to realize they don't have to fight the storm. They can learn to build a shelter. Thank you for investing this time in yourself. Thank you for being willing to do the hard but necessary work.